Welcome to Rewiring Health. If you're a high achieving woman feeling trapped in the endless cycle of guilt and exhaustion from always putting others first, then this is your sanctuary. I'm Dr. Kelly Kessler, your dedicated empowerment mentor, and I'm here to tell you that it's time to reclaim your peace, health, and happiness. Imagine waking up every day feeling energized and unapologetically living for yourself. Together, we'll break down the walls that have been holding you back and unlock the vibrant, unstoppable force that you truly are. It's time to put yourself first, embrace your authentic self, and live a life that's not just endured, but celebrated. Now let's dive in. Have you ever noticed your skin reflects your stress? I used to struggle with mine, dry, dull, reactive, until I started pairing nervous system regulation with products that actually honor your body. That's why I love Milk and Butterflies. They handcraft every formula with 100% organic ingredients and powerful aromatherapy oils. They aren't just products for your skin, they're rituals that restore hydration, resilience, and calm even in the busiest seasons of our life. You can try them for yourself and feel the difference. Head to Milk and Butterflies and use my promo code Dr. Kelly for free shipping. That's DRKELLY for free shipping. Also, check out the link in the description for the podcast.
Have you ever said it's fine when you know deep down it is really not fine? I know I've been there so many times, and I'm sure you have too. And while it may seem innocent, we just kind of move on past whatever that was, it slowly chips away at our essence. It slowly erodes at our inner peace. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you some of the subtle signs that you may not even realize you're doing, but are signs that you are abandoning yourself to keep the peace outside yourself, where you're prioritizing the comfort of others at your own cost. I'm Kelly Kessler. I'm your host, and I am a self respect mentor that helps you move from self neglect to self respect, where you can finally live your life with freedom and release the feeling of guilt that keeps holding you back in the same patterns. Now, there are so many things that we do that are subtleties. We just continue on because these are patterns that we've learned. And I'm going to share with you 5 signs that you may be abandoning yourself in order to keep the peace and comfort of others outside yourself. Number 1 is the polite deflection. Now, has this happened to you? I'm sure it has, where you've been maybe at work or have been in a community environment where someone asks you if you can do something. Hey, can you take on this project? Hey, can you drive here? Hey, can you just do this for me? And that first instinct you feel is that constriction in your body where you're like, oh, I don't want to. But then something overrides that and says, just say yes. And then you're like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll make it work. And you find yourself accommodating others, rearranging your schedule that's already maxed out just to make sure that you're doing what others want of you. And again, it may seem innocent. You may think, I'm a really helpful person. I'm a go to person. I really like to do things for others. And all that is good. But when it starts to erode at your own natural instincts, when it starts to feel like it's overwhelming, when it starts to feel like a burden, when it starts to feel like you're stretching yourself too thin and you're just like figuring it out, that's when you are teaching yourself that others' needs matter more than your own. And over time, that slowly erodes your own self trust that you're going to stick up for yourself, that you're going to have your own back, that you're going to allow yourself to feel at peace and maybe not show up for everything else in your life. The polite deflection is something that showed up in my life so many times, especially in my career, where I felt like I just had to say yes. I had to go along with things. I had to just do what was expected of me. And so, as a physical therapist, I was working at this company as a float full-time physical therapist, which means that I was driving from clinic to clinic to clinic, taking on the caseload of whatever was needed. And I would say yes because I felt like I had no choice but to say yes. And so I found myself driving an hour plus to work, seeing the most challenging caseload, driving back home, and then going to a new location the next day and doing the same thing over again. And it cost me so much time. It cost me so much energy. I was exhausted. I was coming home from work feeling like I was completely spent. And then at the time, I had leased my car and it was a brand new lease. And if you've had a lease before, you know that you have limited miles. And I was using up all my miles just for my job. I barely even used the car for myself. And I was paying more money than I should have been after that because my miles were maxed out because I didn't say no, because I kept doing what the job wanted. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter because it just it was just a job. They didn't care. They didn't care if I kept saying yes. They were just going to keep expecting it. As long as I tolerated it, they were going to keep on demanding it. And so when you don't set your boundaries, people are going to blow through it and just take advantage of whatever they can. And that's exactly what happened at that job. So that deflection, that polite deflection of not saying no costs a lot. And that's just a job. I did that in personal relationships and so many other places, but that was just one example. And I just felt like every time I turned around, I was getting taken advantage of. And I had no more energy left for anything else in my life. It was exhausting. And it cost me a lot, even though it was subtle. It was those death of a thousand cuts every little day, just a little cut, little cut, little cut. And before you know it, you're bleeding out all your energy. You're bleeding out all your time. Everything's bleeding. And you have nothing left for yourself. And that's how these subtleties can really pile up. Number two is the disappearing preference. So, a common one is where do you want to go for dinner? And if you're someone who just tends to go along with things, not really have an opinion, and just be the one who is easygoing, you may find yourself saying, anything's good, doesn't matter. Yeah, you pick, it's okay. And yet, you may have a preference, and maybe you have been so disconnected from your own preferences that you tend to just go along, let other people make the decisions. But is there an inner voice in you that's saying, no, I want Mexican food. I don't want to go to Italian tonight. And yet you're like, well, that's okay. I'll find something in Italian. You find yourself in places where you don't actually have preferences. And this is why it's so subtle because you may, again, think that you're that easygoing person. It's not that big of a deal. I can find something to eat anywhere. It's really not that big of a deal. But are you not expressing your preferences or getting in connection with your preferences because of this pattern that you have to accommodate others? Because of this pattern to make sure other people are happy and not ruffle any feathers? And this is why it's subtle because it's subconscious. We make a lot of these decisions under our level of awareness that we're even doing it. We automatically are saying, yeah, whatever, I'm good. Before we even check in with ourselves of like, hey, what do I want? And think about when's the last time you asked yourself that question when you're figuring out dinner and something simple like that? What do I want? If I could choose right now, what would I choose? And it's that pause that gives us some of that power back to be like, okay, what do I want in this situation? And I use the example of dinner, but that's a pretty common experience. But think about this in bigger life choices like, where do you want to move? What job do you want? What role do you want to have? There's so many things that we can just go along with what we think is expected of us. And we don't ever stop to ask, like, what is it that I want without all these external influences? Number three is the emotional cleanup. I'm sure you've had this situation where your friend calls or your family member calls, and it becomes this emotional dumping ground where they are just releasing everything they've been through, and you were not expecting that at all. They're just laying it all out there, telling you everything, complaining over and over and over again. And again, it may seem that you're being a good person, you're being helpful, you're being there for them, which is great. It's always great to just support people and let them have a space to feel heard to an extent. Do you become that person who is always on the receiving end of somebody else's emotional outpouring? Do you get in places where you're already exhausted? You pick up the phone call and you're like, whew, how do I get through this? Because I was already tired and now I'm just totally depleted. I thought I was drained before, but now after this, I am completely drained. Do you find that yourself in that situation? And yet, what do you say? No, it's okay. I can here for you. It's okay. I have some time. Yeah, I have about like 10 minutes. I can listen. You just say that it's okay. But did you actually check in with yourself in that moment? And that's where the importance is. Again, pausing, checking in with yourself. Do you have the emotional resources to be there for someone? Or maybe it is that you have to say, like, listen, I want to hear you. I just need to kind of collect myself. I need to get myself in a better space and give yourself that ability to allow your energies to be elevated. Or is it that person that is just chronically dumping on you and is not reciprocating any of that give and take of the emotional capacities? Is it that person that constantly uses you to help buffer them? In that case, again, recognizing, are you just saying it's fine? Are you just staying on the line? Are you just continuing to do that and being available to them? As you do that over and over again, your system's saying, like, when is my time to get to relax? When is my time to build up my energy? How much more of this can I do? And when are you going to look out for me? It slowly erodes you again and again because you're prioritizing the comfort of someone else over your own. Number four is the over-explain boundary. Now, maybe you've mustered up the courage to finally say no. This is it. You're going to say no because you've gotten so used to saying yes. But here is the moment that you're finally going to say no and say that you're going to protect your time and your energy. But the minute you say no, you feel like you have to have an entire rap sheet of why you're saying no. You feel like you have to have a complete, solid story of why you could possibly say no in this moment. And so you over explain it. No, I got to do this. I have to go there. This is why I can't do it. You have something set up already for the rebuttal. And you feel the responsibility of managing their disappointment. It's that burden that we take on ourselves that we don't even realize we're doing it. Again, a lot of it can be so subconscious. But do you feel responsible for managing someone else's emotions in that moment? So if you say no, do you feel like you have to give them some valid reason that they could understand in order for them not to feel disappointed that you said no? Do you feel like you cannot just say, no, that's not going to work for me? Do you have to have an entire story around that before you can actually feel comfortable to do that? That slowly erodes you. Again, because you feel like you have to explain it. You have to get the validation, the permission for you to actually say no and not continue to go along with something that maybe you don't want to. And number five is the smile that lies. Oh man, this one hits home because this was my coping mechanism for so long. It's to the point where I recognize in hindsight that I did this so much that in high school people would call me Smiley because I was smiling. But beneath that smile of putting on the face that everything's okay, there was a lot of inner turmoil. And so we can disconnect from ourselves. We get really good on putting on the front that everything's okay, but behind the scenes, there's a lot more going on there. And this is one that can be so almost icky feeling when you start to do it and you recognize that you're doing it. And this is something that creates that inauthenticity between what you're feeling and what you're showing. And then you almost feel like you're lying to yourself. And this comes up when someone says a joke to you that really stings. It gets you at your core. And instead of being like, hey, listen, I didn't like that. That made me feel a certain way. Please don't say that anymore. You kind of laugh it off and like, all right, whatever. I'll just blow it off. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Or you just nod when someone talks over you. So you're saying something and then they just completely dominate the conversation. You're like, yep. And you go along with it without actually standing up for yourself and be like, listen, I want to hear your point of view, but I want to finish mine first. Or again, as I started, that it's fine. It's fine, even though it's not. You just put on the face like, no worries. I got it. It's fine. But you know it's not. And you know there's something speaking to you within you that's saying, that's not okay. When are you going to speak up for yourself? When are you going to advocate for yourself? It's those subtleties that we may do subconsciously. We just continue to show up in that way. And yet it teaches our system that we can't be authentic and feel safe at the same time. It teaches our system that other people's emotions matter more than our own. It teaches our system that we're not going to be here to protect ourselves. It teaches our system that we can't trust ourselves. And it teaches our system that we have to show up the way others expect us to. And those gradually erode at your peace. They gradually feel like that inner turmoil that you can't really put your finger on, but you know it's there. And you're wondering, like, there's got to be more to this. There's more to this. I don't know why I feel like this over and over again. I'm exhausted. I'm burnout. I'm sick of putting on a happy face. But yeah, I don't know how not to, because that's how I got so used to showing up in life. And I know that feeling because I lived that feeling for so much of my life. And it's hard. It's really hard. You feel like you're in a constant tug of war between what feels right and what's authentic for you and what you feel like you have to show the outer world. And that discrepancy wears on you over time. And the reason why these are subtle, the reason why these are hard to catch is because they're in our bodies. Our bodies have learned to respond in a way that makes them feel safe. Our nervous system has learned how to feel safe, even if it means self-sacrificing. And what this is the fawn response. It's a trauma response within our bodies that says, if the peace is kept outside ourselves, then we're safe. If they're okay, then I must be okay. I will mold, adapt, and quiet and silence and make myself feel small in order for the environment to feel like it's safe. And so we modify everything that we do. We screen ourselves. We live through this lens of feeling like we have to continually adapt for other people to feel comfortable because that's our sense of safety. So it's not as simple as stop doing it because whatever we resist persists. It's about teaching our nervous system that we are safe in this moment and that we can live a life where we're authentic and safe. We can disappoint people and not be responsible for their emotions. We can say no without having to justify it. These are all the things that we can learn once we feel safe enough to learn them, once we feel safe enough in our bodies to move through the world in a way that feels authentic to us, even if it causes a rift in the external world. Because when you prioritize the external world, you may build up that world, but you eventually erode your own inner world. And when you prioritize your peace, finally, you are saying to yourself that I am willing to lose and cause a rift in the outside world as long as I don't lose myself anymore. You get to the point where you're sick of losing yourself for other things to be okay. And that is truly self-respect when you are willing to do the work and recognize that you are worthy of taking back your power, taking back your energy, taking back your time, and protecting yourself finally, living your life with integrity and authenticity. And that all comes first with feeling safe enough to ground into yourself. And so if this has spoken to you, if this is something that has deeply resonated with you, if you've noticed some of these signs in your body, in your life, I invite you to join my new course, Self-Respect Reset. In this 4-week course, you're going to learn how you can start to set boundaries that feel safe. You're going to learn how to navigate them without the sense of guilt that pulls you back into the yeses. And you're going to learn how to regulate your nervous system so that you can feel authentic, so that you can feel free in your body, so that you can show up with what feels aligned with you, and to release the burden of having to manage everybody else's emotions. This is what you will take home from this course. And in 4 weeks, you will notice that your level of self-respect has elevated to a point where you are feeling at home with yourself finally. This all comes from my own experience of living most of my life without boundaries, living most of my life with making sure everybody else was okay, living most of my life from that fawn response of keeping the peace outside myself, even if it meant losing myself. And it was only when I started to stand in my own power, recognize that I had so much within me that needed to be recognized, that needed to be loved, needed to be approached with compassion, that my whole life changed. And yours will too. And when you recognize that your inner world then gets mirrored in your outer world, everything changes because then you start to see that you have the power to change your life from the inside out. And that's exactly what you'll do in this course, Self-Respect Reset. So if this has resonated with you, I invite you to join my course. The doors have just opened. This is going to be your transformation for a whole new version of you, where you can stand in your power, you can feel more freedom in your body, and you can live a life that feels aligned with you, where you are prioritizing your own peace.
Check out the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If there was something in this episode that really resonated with you or a message that stuck with you, please share it with someone else. It's only through sharing these messages that we can start to rewire our minds to feel empowered and live the life that we truly desire. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to Rewiring Health.